It's no secret that I have an affinity for good value phones. I mean, who in the right mind doesn't? So when Realme came into my peripheral, I knew I had to go take a look at the Realme X2 Pro, which is their flagship phone. And this phone gave me some serious old school OnePlus vibes, this flagship killer mentality in this package. So after spending a month with this phone, I can now tell you if this Realme is really for me or for you. So as always with these good valued phones, you can't really tell the story without giving you the specs and the price point right off the bat, or you're not going to understand why I'm so excited to talk about a phone like this. So let's do it. The Snapdragon 855 Plus powers this phone. That is the highest end Snapdragon processor as of recording of this video on the market today. So that's the same processor as a phone like the OnePlus 7T Pro, which is probably like $750. This also has 8 gigabytes of RAM and 128 gigabytes of storage, all for the price point of under $500. And my version is the global version. I have the LTE band I need for T-Mobile to use 4G LTE here. Performance is solid. I mean, Snapdragon 855 Plus, you would expect it to be lightning fast, and it is. I haven't noticed any slowdowns or anything like that. This phone runs very quickly, top of the end flagship style performance. Let's say Black Desert Online mobile. Pretty decent graphic intensive game, runs on this phone no problem. I wouldn't expect it to have any issues, period. So Snapdragon 855 Plus handles that game like a champ. I think any gaming experience you'll have in terms of the Google Play Store should be fine on here. Don't quote me on that. I'm sure there might be some clunky ones that don't work, but all the ones that I play seem to work fine here. Yeah, performance is good. I mean, don't worry about it. Snapdragon 855 Plus, that's why we're buying this phone for sub $500. That's why we're impressed with it. Another exciting thing about this phone is the 4,000 mAh battery. So it's not just exciting because of this number. It's nothing too special. We've seen 4,000 mAh before, but the battery life I'm getting off of this phone is terrific. I don't have to worry about charging this phone anytime during the day. This can last me from 7 a.m. to maybe 2 a.m. in the morning through my unique usage. If you've seen any other videos, you can compare those battery life of those phones to this. It is tremendous. It's actually really good battery life. Quick charging on this phone is also terrific when you need it. If you need it, you probably don't. This phone really does last the whole day, no problem, even on the most intensive use case scenarios. There is no Qi charging, even though it is a glass back. That is something they had to forego because of the price point. I am more willing to forgive that because of the price point, though. The phone is running Android 9, which is Android Pie. It's not the newest version of Android 10. You're supposed to be able to get Android 10 sooner or later. We still have not got it during our time with this phone. So I assume it's coming sooner or later. I don't have experience with Realme updates, so this is our first one we're going to see. When I do have it, I'll update you guys on our Twitter at SipNoTech and also on Instagram at SipNoTech once again. So be sure to follow us on that for updates on this phone. Now, the Android experience on here, I can only compare to something like Xiaomi. Those old school MIUI settings and this Color OS settings, which is what the skin is called, these things are hidden and they don't need to be. And that's one of these complaints I do have about Chinese phones. Keep it simple. You don't really need to hide things. Stock Android settings are just fine the way it is. You can just add on into that settings list like some people do, like OnePlus has done that. Now, another selling point for this phone is the display. So this is a little bit of a unique display. The selling point is a 90 hertz display. This is a 1080p 6.5-inch display, and it has an interesting aspect ratio because it's 20 by 9. So it's not 19 by 9. It's not even 21 by 9 like what Sony is doing. It's 20 by 9. So it's a very interesting dynamic here. I have actually not used a 20 by 9 aspect ratio. I've used 18, I've used 19, I've even used 21, but never 20. So that's a weird in-betweener. It's only in the low 400 PPIs. It's actually 402 PPI. But that combination of a Super AMOLED display with a 90 hertz refresh rate makes this a winner, especially because of the price point. I wouldn't necessarily brag about this phone's display. Nothing really pops out to you. Nothing is too oversaturated. The color's actually relatively mute for an AMOLED display. At least in my opinion, it is. Nothing just really stands out for this display, but nothing is detrimental either. It's just a solid display. Now, in terms of design language, there's a lot to like here, but there is a lot of resemblance to a phone I reviewed a couple years ago. That was the Samsung Galaxy S8. So it's an older Samsung phone, but it has a lot of similar design languages. The aluminum frame is one of them. The glass back that wraps around to the side here that is easy to hold on your hand. It feels just like it melts into your palm. I like those design languages that they took from Samsung, and it is a nice phone. I do like the glass back. The way this reflects is very nice. It has kind of like this two-tone colors at time when light shines on it. One thing I didn't like though, and it really annoyed me, was the layout of the buttons, the power button and the volume rockers. They're on opposite ends of the frame, directly parallel to each other. So oftentimes when you pick up the phone, you hold it like this, I accidentally take a screenshot. I can't tell you how many times I've accidentally taken a screenshot. I do it at least once a day. It's pretty bad. Now, this phone also has a USB-C port, of course, and a headphone jack, which is terrific for a lot of people who still like plugging in headphones. And it also has dual stereo speakers, one in the earpiece and one bottom firing. Volume on this phone actually gets quite loud. Quality of the audio isn't amazing, but it is decent enough for your media needs. Now, this phone also has 4 cameras on its back. Now, to break this down, it's a 64 megapixel wide lens, a 13 megapixel telephoto lens, an 8 megapixel ultra wide lens, and a 2 megapixel one for depth sensing. You can record 4K at 30 frames and 60 frames a second. So this phone covers almost everything you need for a flagship phone. No 120 frames per second for video recording. But, I mean, come on, guys. It's less than $500. That is a pretty amazing camera spec list for a sub-$500 phone. But does the quality match up to these awe-dropping camera specs? I have to say the camera performs relatively well. Let's actually take a look at the 64 megapixel camera first. This is, I guess, a lot of people would think this is a selling point. 64 megapixels, they advertise it. It's a big number. Doesn't necessarily mean it's a great photo. I don't really notice too much of a difference in terms of detail with the 64 megapixel mode and just a regular camera mode. Photo quality is rather good on this phone, and I am pretty shocked to say that some of the shots I got in low light especially is pretty acceptable. You're not going to get good low light shots on every single shot. It takes some effort to get it. But in their night mode, I was pleasantly surprised that some of the shots turned out as good as they did. Now, whereas I wouldn't say it's anywhere near the Google Pixels in terms of their night shots, it is rather usable, and I was pretty surprised with that night mode actually gave me some pretty good night shots, let's say dark environment shots. I do feel confident using this at nighttime if I needed to. Biometric sensors. The fingerprint scanner is under the display, and I've never really liked those. However, this one is lightning fast. Same thing with the face scanner. It is, I mean, it's just blink an eye and you miss it. This thing is really fast. I don't know how secure it is. Casual tests like using different fingers or having a different person use their fingerprint, they can't log on to it. But, I don't know how safe it is in comparison to what Apple has done. But these things are fast to unlock. I can't say the same about the Note 10. The Note 10 was slow as hell for me to unlock using my fingerprint for the under-the-display fingerprint scanner. This thing is lightning fast, probably the fastest I've ever used. Now, color me impressed with the Realme X2 Pro. This phone lives up to this whole OnePlus Flagship killer mentality. It has that here. And it's not my favorite phone out there. It really isn't. If you had a drawer of phones like I do here, it's not the phone I would pick out and say I want to use this phone every single day. However, for the everyday man or woman out there, the value here is very, very good. And there's no excuse if you're on a budget to not at least consider this phone. This phone for sub $500 is absolutely a beast for what it can do. Performance is terrific on here. It's just one of those things that we've gotten to the point where you don't need to get $1,000 phone. This phone can do everything a $1,000 phone can do. And, it's not the sexiest phone out there, but I mean, come on, man. It's almost half the price of a lot of these upper-end phones. So I love seeing these phones compete in the market, and it's a pity that a more general consensus of people don't know about stuff like this. Realme, you go and pull random people in the street, they don't know what Realme is. So I feel like it's my job and other tech reviewers to introduce these products to the masses. I mean, OnePlus has come from obscurity into T-Mobile stores. So it can happen. Realme is really far from that, but this thing is out there. It's pretty easy to buy for anybody who needs to buy it or wants to buy it. So check it out. I do highly recommend someone order this, check it out, try it for one generation. It's a pretty good phone to use. Once again, I'm Alex with Tech. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. I'll see you guys next time.
And that's it. Be sure to subscribe here. Hit the bell button so you don't miss any of our videos. And check out our other videos right here. Until next time.